So hello everyone, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here to listen to wonderful presentations. And in my 20 minutes, I'm going to present only one part of my collected data of my ongoing research in the 6-week online processional AP module, which I've taught for which I taught for 4 last years. And I'll also focus on the assessment. And the context of this module is very indicative, and because it's pass to progress module, and the students get assessed straight from the beginning of the module. And I'll present teachers' voices on this module and 3 preliminary findings, and then suggest some strategies emerging from the data as well. And after watching the presentation and listening, Erin and John, I can say that my stuff links nicely with what they said in terms of student accountability, in terms of Vygotsky, ZPD, and all that stuff. So it's kind of very logical next step. So what I'm doing, I'm first presenting the module content very briefly, then I talk about the theoretical framework which I applied for the data analysis, and talk a little bit about this. And then the findings, the qualitative teacher's voice findings, and then some suggestions about the strategies and the assessment strategies. Okay. I don't have time to go to the details of the module. And just very briefly, this is the 6-week online summer processional. Now it's more than 400 students this year, for example. Usually there are 3 live sessions and 1 consultation with the tutor each week, and 1 independent study group session each week as well. The module is well thought and very logical, and with authentic assessment. And as I said, I can't say too much about the module, but if you're interested, we published a chapter on this module with the module lead, with Eve and Warren. And if you are interested, you can scan the QR code, and the book is the whole book is still embargoed until November 2026. But if you click on QR code and fill in the short form, it will be sent to me, and I'll give you access to our chapter with the full module details if you are interested. So speaking about assessment, the assignment tasks, they focus on student argumentation, deep engagement with ideas, which require synthesis of their reading. And students choose which parts of the portfolio they submit for the final summative task, and we teach them how to synthesize the reading, how to argue, how to make claims, how to back their statements with evidence, with the literature, etc. So this is the assessment on the module. And as all speakers mentioned today, now LLM-based system provide any type of language on demand. So assessment rubrics were changed, and the current rubrics, they're much more cheating resistant, and the assessment validity is improved this way. And because they do test student argumentation, and as we see by rubrics, that the language and the student ideas are separated now by these rubrics, and we are looking at how students are able to express their complex ideas. So this is the assessment. And before I move to the study, I'd like to briefly mention the theoretical framework which I used for the data analysis. So both suggests that assessment always needs to do these 3 things. So the key purpose of assessment is for assurance for teachers and management to assure that learning outcomes have been met, and this is the university requirement. This is embedded in the code of practice for assessment, and this is the first purpose. Secondly, especially in the formative assessment, teachers' feedback aids student learning so that students are able to meet the learning outcome and they learn and develop. And the third purpose of assessment is to build students' own capacity to address their own learning, because at the end of the day, teachers won't be with the students, and it's important to build the skill of judging their learning themselves. So this is the kind of building purpose of assessment. I'll talk about this a bit later when I talk about the data. So it is a narrative study, and the fieldwork stage 1 was in summer 2025, and the participants and me as a researcher, we taught the student groups in this module and had opportunities to communicate frequently during the module. And the umbrella research question which I used for the narrative interviews, it was how to improve student-teacher relationship in the online module. And the interviews were audio recorded and with teacher's permission, of course, and transcribed verbatim. And the transcripts were analyzed in vivo. And to interpret teacher's construction of meaning, I used thematic analysis, and I analyzed the data inductively in several rounds and created some codes, categories, and concepts as traditional thematic approach. And these findings, which I'm now going to present now, they align with the common trend of the and I'll talk about this a bit later. So the first finding, which is actually both Erin and John, they talked about, it is that some students couldn't fully understand and explain their work. So teacher A said that there were 2 cases of AI used for writing, and they, of course, couldn't explain it because they didn't understand what they'd written. And teacher B said that so many students had no idea, so they got really low marks. My spidey sense was tingling, and I wanted to see, did you actually read any of what you submitted, or it's taken from Gen AI? And teacher C is also submitted that most of the students can't even explain their work. Yeah, so this is finding, and as I said, it aligns with the current research, with the common trend. For example, this is the study of Dickinson and Mark 2026, where they show that nearly 38% of students cannot explain their submitted work. Another thing was that students use translation tools without acknowledging them. And teachers were talking about this, and one case was a bit funny, and that the students wrote about China's space industry, and I couldn't understand the text because the translation software frequently used area and room instead of space, meaning cosmos. And it became clear when the students had admitted to using machine translation software. Yeah. So this was kind of when teacher realized that there was something wrong with the submission. Couldn't understand. Yeah. The finding number 3, it was the most surprising for me. And the teacher said, well, actually, I also witnessed the cases when students explicitly said that they're not going to use AI. So, and teacher C said, many students who want to do it themselves want to think for themselves. They don't want to use generative AI to do it for them. And also, it aligns with this recent study of Dickinson and Mark, who said that 59% of students worry that AI could reduce their critical thinking. So, now we are moving to the solutions, and actually the solutions come also from the data. And the first suggestion is that what we can do as teachers, we can increase the students' responsibility for their work. So teacher A said, I guess there should have been some class time dedicated to discussion around what using AI means. You are paying all this money to come here and do this course. What is the point if you are not going to do it yourself? And then what happens at the end? Are you going to finish? I mean, when you are face to face, presumably sitting in the exam hall and having to write something yourself, then what's going to happen then? Is it all going to come crashing down? And teacher B said that you need to pass to progress or on this course, and we are threatening them, if you don't pass, you can't go on your master's. And if we could change that, if it wouldn't be pass or fail, but actually, do you want to learn something? Then I think students would be less likely to rely on AI. And if they're like, yeah, I want to learn it myself, and there is no negative consequences if I don't do it well. So this is kind of thinking of us, how we position. Of course, we can't change much about this. Speaking about the student agency and student responsibility, last year I published this practitioner research article explaining how I provided AI training in this module. And the students first used it randomly and often out of panic, and which often worked against them in the assignments. But then we did some training next year, and it was much better, and they felt more equipped, but of course, their ideas were the students, and this was my main point, not to allow AI to shape their judgment and come up with their own ideas first. So I don't have time now to go into the detail of this. So this article is open access, so you can scan QR code and to do it and to go to this and read more. Just tell you about one activity, what I did. I asked students to write down their own initial thinking before going to AI, and then compare that starting point of their thinking with AI output and discuss, ask what did the AI foreground, what did it ignore, why, what is the contribution of yours, your thinking, and what do you think about what AI could help you with this? So did it change how you understand the topic after reading the output? So questions like this. Okay, so now speaking about the other suggestion, and the other suggestion is that to think a bit more about how assessment can actually reveal the student understanding. And teacher A said that what do you need to do if they won't admit using AI for writing? It's just to ask them questions about the text. Can you explain what you mean by this? Did you use this term? Why did you use this term here? And teacher B said that they couldn't explain, so they didn't really have any choice but to confess it in the end. And again, there were some probing, some kind of encouraging students to explain things. So this is for understanding and for raising student accountability of their own work. This is all about this suggestion too about this thing. And the challenge is to build these accountability moments that are experienced as developmental conversations rather than surveillance events, which of course are necessary because those vivas, timed writing, oral exams, presentations. Of course, they are necessary now because we need to really see what the students have got from our modules, right? But how to make them, how to transform them into the developmental conversations, and especially for the students for whom performance under pressure is itself a barrier. Yes, this is the Baude's ideas again, so I'm now kind of suggesting his perspective. And I also think that peer learning is undervalued now in assessment, because peer learning can more kind of reveal student understanding in a deeper level more than the main argument. And so in terms of the main argument, students always are prepared to communicate. But in terms of reasoning chain, in terms of the specific phrasing, for example, in their work, and this is what peer learning can also reveal, and also contribute to both second and third key assessment purposes, enabling and building, if you remember that slide with the theoretical framework. So actually peer learning can do it for the student. So what did the teachers say? Teacher A said that instead of just a group presentation, how is the course for you, we should be able to ask a few questions. It would be good if we had more digging. And teacher A said, instead of giving a presentation, we could have an oral viva, ask to a degree where we really pick apart. So you cited the source. Tell me, what's the main argument of the source? How do you say, and exactly what Erin was explaining in her presentation. All right, so as I said, finding number 3 was surprising, because we know that from the current report that 94% of students use AI and 93% use it for assessed work. So kind of students who insist on not using AI, it's a very interesting and very pleasant kind of finding. But those students are worried. They are worried because they feel that can be disadvantaged of not using AI by those students who do. And by raising the theoretical awareness of the role of AI in learning, what it can do, what it cannot do, we can help students to construct their personal frameworks and their personal theories of practice, and help them, because students are doing it, whatever we discuss it with them and know they're doing, they're trying to explain, they're trying to theorize why they're not doing it. And we need to help them with this. And many students are afraid of using AI unethically. Yeah, and they say that they're not sure whether AI supports their learning or doesn't support, and where to replace their learning. So this is actually emerged in the consultations with students, and I also witnessed this. And in response to this, with 2 colleagues from the University of Leeds, we now in the publishing stage of the book, which is an edited collection of empirical studies and a couple of theoretical texts about the role of AI in teaching and learning. And it is contributing to the better understanding of what makes us human. And we use sociocultural notions, lots of them, all of them: mediation, ZPD, activity theory, tools, etc., artifacts, and we allow to operationalize the research and these notions, and our discussion in the book might be useful theoretical lens to look through and to talk to the students who really want to understand, and to help them not to feel disadvantaged and stressed about not using AI nowadays. Yeah. Right. So now I'm moving. This book is now in the publication stage. And if you are interested, please contact me. I think it will be open access when it is published. I hope so. So to conclude the talk, I would like to suggest 3 strategies which emerge from the data and from thinking around this. And the strategies that first is to raise students' awareness, what they're actually here to do, what they applied for, and that for how they're spending their time. And it will help to build students' own capacity to address their own learning in both terms, between applying the both theoretical framework. The second strategy is to increase visible accountability moments, because the current research states, for example, Dixon 2026, they say that if students know that they will be asked about the content, their understanding of their submission is tested, they approach AI differently from those who just need to submit work, and that's it. So the students that they don't have that incentive to do it differently. And second strategy is to increase visible accountability moments and to be sure that learning outcomes have been met. And the third one is to raise a theoretical awareness of what an AI role in learning is, and to reduce students' anxiety about not using AI. So here are my references. Thank you for listening to me. I'm happy it's been a pleasure to present, and I'm happy to answer your questions if you have anything.
Thank you, Lada. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation.